All right, so you a handsome man, right? You a good looking dude. Girls tell you you look good. Um, girls give you choosing signals. All the stuff you know. You know what I'm saying? Somebody other than your mama told you you look good. All right, cool. You think that means it's a green light. I know I used to think that. I used to think, okay, she thinks I look good, it's over, man. Something's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's gotta happen. That's not true. I realize that's not true. In my years of experience, being a handsome guy, it's not true, right? She can like you, think you're attractive, tell you to your face, dang, I think you're gorgeous. I think you're sexy. She's not just gonna make that up. Like she text it to you. She should tell you to your face. She's scared to come across the room. Her friend got to bring her over. She tells you, I mean, I just think you're gorgeous. Like, these things have all happened to me. And nothing happened with the girl because I didn't know what I was doing, right? And this is why handsome men need game. I used to say game was for ugly dudes, but that's not the case. That's not the case. You need game if you're handsome. It's just a different type of game that you need. You don't need initiation. You don't need the pursuit. You don't need to be so persistent. You don't need to do all that. That's what I used to think of as game. And I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need that. But what I do need, it's temperament. I need to be composed. I need to be patient. I need these other attributes in my game, in your game, if you're handsome. All right, so I got a couple stories, man, that's gonna illustrate what I'm talking about. So one, right, I'm at the gym. I see I'm working on like probably shoulders or something like that, and I look in the mirror. I see this girl, off like behind me, and she's looking at me in real life, but I'm looking at her in the mirror, so she can't see that I'm looking at her. And she's looking at me crazy, up and down, like damn near biting her lip. I'm like, okay, she thinks I'm attractive, but I don't know what this is in the past, so I didn't know what to do at the time. I didn't do anything, but that was the right thing because I needed to wait for the right time and opportunity, right? Patience. So I take a mental note of that. I see her again, maybe like a few weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later. I'm upstairs on the Stairmaster. There's a downstairs area where people normally stretch, but she's up here stretching next to the Stairmasters. I'm like, and it's a busy gym, so sometimes the stretching area is just full, so you got to go somewhere else. So I'm like, ooh, that's how I'm gonna open it. That's how I'm gonna open up. So I go over to her. I'm like, okay. I'm like, hey. I'm like, damn. I'm like, you stretching up here? I'm like, damn. That means there's no space downstairs. It must be so busy. And she's like, oh no. I only go over because I seen her last time looking at me crazy, so that's why I go over. She's like, no. She's like, I just like sometimes like to come up here and stretch and just be by myself, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh cool. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know if I introduce myself, whatever, but we're talking. Eventually I introduce myself. She introduces herself. I tell her, yeah, I'm an actor. She tells me, oh really, I'm an actor too. I'm like, oh really? I'm like, so you know how it is. You probably got some crazy stories. She's like, yeah, I do. Like, and then she's like, we should talk about them sometime, blah blah blah. We agree to go on a hike, exchange numbers. Cool. All right, nice to meet you. Have a good workout. Go do my thing, whatever. She leaves the gym. I think she leaves before me, and she texts me, and she's like, "Oh, it's nice meeting you." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Yeah, you too." I'm like, "Yeah, we should definitely like get on that hike." And she's like, and then I think I'm about to write like, "Oh, like what day are you free?" And she just says, "You're sexy, by the way." She texts this to me. I'm like, oh yes, man. This whole thing that went so smooth. I'm like, and it's just getting smoother. I'm like, now it's a go. Like, I got the verbal, it's a go. I already knew she found me attractive because I seen it, but now she's out here saying it. So she's letting it all out. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, you look scrumptious too, baby. I said, you look scrumptious yourself. I used to say corny shit like that, but I said something like that. And then she laughed at it, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, so we can go on a date. We can go to dinner. We can go to a movie. Like, we can still do a hike if you want, like, whatever. And she's like, yeah, okay, cool. Like over text. And then I realized that she left. I'm like, are you driving? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, you ain't about to get in an accident talking to me, so I'll text you later, or text me later. She said, okay, cool. I'll text you later. And she laughs. And then boom. A day goes by. 2 days go by. I text her. I'm like, damn, what, you on a road trip? And then she laughs, whatever. But that's it. She just sends the laughing emojis. Another day goes by. Another day goes by. I text her. I'm like, yeah, did you still want to do that hike? No response. I'm like, what the man? I'm like, she told me I'm sexy. I didn't say anything. I'm like, what? How could she possibly ghost me? This doesn't make any sense. Whatever. I delete the thread. Who cares, right? A month goes by. I'm at the gym. I see her. but I see her before she sees me. So I'm like, man, forget her. I'm ignoring her. But then out of my peripheral, I see her notice me, have a reaction, and then, but she doesn't come over. I'm like, whatever, right? Fast forward 2 weeks from then, I'm at the gym. I see this girl that looks attractive. I'm like, okay, she looks good, whatever. And then she looks at me, and then she's like, we're looking at each other from across the room, and she like waves. But I'm like, I don't know this girl, so why is she waving at me? So I look back like, is she waving at me? Because I'm not about to wave back and look stupid. And then I go, and she's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, come over. So then I go over to her. As I'm getting closer, I'm like, wait, she kind of looks familiar, but like I couldn't tell if it was her. And then I got up close and I'm like, oh, it is her. And then she's like talking to me like she knows me. So I'm like, oh yeah, it has to be her. But she had changed her hair. Her hair looked way different. And she goes, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. How are you? She's like, I'm good. She's like, look, I'm sorry, for ghosting you. She's like, I had told myself like I wasn't gonna date. Like I want to focus on my acting. And then like I don't know, I just got kind of like, I didn't want to say no, and it's just like, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, no, it's no big deal, you don't gotta explain yourself, like it's cool. She's like, yeah. She's like, sorry about that though. She's like, and she said something about Instagram. She's like we exchanged Instagrams, right? I'm like, nah, we didn't. She's like, oh, she's like, well, take my Instagram, like let's exchange Instagrams. So we exchanged Instagrams right there. And then I'm like, okay, so she ghosts me, but she still want to talk to me. Okay, cool. So then I get her Instagram, and I'm like, I go home and I realize, because like in the moment I didn't realize it, but after I got home, I'm like, she just didn't want anything serious with me, right? So it's like, I had it in the bag, and had I just let things happen naturally, right? Like let's say she said, you're sexy, by the way, and I was just like, chill out. Like, yeah, we'll get on the hike though sometime. But like me thinking that like, oh, all right, cool, we'll just go on a date. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like me doing too much. I should have just been like I said, chill, and then just let it happen naturally. We just went on the hike. But me now, I'm trying to do too much. I'm like, oh, okay. She said she likes me. We can do anything. Let's go on a date. Let's go to a movie. No, bro. We said a hike. Let's just go. Let's keep it where it's at. Go on the hike. Don't do nothing else. You're gonna mess it up. She thinks you're attractive. Just leave it where it's at. Don't do no more. Don't do no less. Just keep it where it's at. You don't have freedom. It doesn't mean green light. It means yellow light. Move with caution. You can move. If she don't find you attractive, it's a red light. But if she finds you attractive, it's a yellow light. Move with caution. Don't do too much. That's the moral of that story. Now, another story I got to show you the other end of the spectrum is, I'm at a Halloween party. Me and my boy, I'm dressed like a cowboy. I got the hat. I got like a plaid shirt, a little star, jeans. I don't know if I have boots, but probably boots. I look in the part. I'm walking through the party. We go upstairs. There's nothing going on. It's dead. It's LA. Nobody dances. It's whack. Whatever. But we walking through the party, and then randomly some little Asian girl comes up to me. I'm like, what's up? She's like, hey. I'm like, hey, what's up? She's like, I'm blah blah blah. Introduce herself. I'm like, oh, what's up? I'm Marvin. We talking for a little bit. She's like, are you single? I'm like, why? And she's like, oh, she's like, cause my friend, cause she's not attractive. She's like a 5'4". And she's like, oh, cause my friend like thinks you're attractive. And I'm like, okay, so it's not you. Good. I'm like, okay, so your friend. I'm like, who's your friend? And she points to her friend, and her friend looks worse than her, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, thank you. I keep it cool, keep it nice, keep it polite. I'm like, cool. I'm like, thank you. And she's like, yeah. She's like, she was, when you walked by, she was like, that's one sexy cowboy. I'm laughing. I'm like, yeah, that's funny. Okay. And then she's like, do you want to come over and like talk to her? I'm like, man, nothing going on in this party. Like, she complimented me. I'm gonna go say thank you, whatever. I go over to her. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go over. So we go over, and like I see her, and she sees me coming, and I can see her like, what the fuck is going? She's like, what the fuck? So I get closer to her. I'm like, hey, what's up? How you doing? I'm like, I'm Marvin. I stick out my hand, and then she literally is like this. I'm I'm like, I'm like, what's going on? Like, you think I'm attractive? I'm talking to you. Like, what do you think this is? I'm talking to you. Respond. Like what? And then I'm like, all right, whatever. So I walk back over to my boy. I'm like, bro, I'm like, she's weird as hell. Like, she's not even talking. She's literally just frozen in time while I'm talking to her. And then I realized, I analyzed like I always do. And I'm like, bro, she realized that I'm out of her league. So she's so nervous about possibly getting rejected or being embarrassed or whatever. I don't know, something bad happened to her in the past with an attractive guy where she got embarrassed or whatever. But she's so worried about that she won't even talk to me. She won't even look at me. She didn't even look at me. So I'm like, okay, another situation where just because you're attractive doesn't mean it's a go. If the girl doesn't think that she's in your league, if she thinks you're too attractive, she's gonna be like, nope, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not talking to you. There's no reason to talk to you. It's just gonna go bad. You're just gonna play me. So again, it's not a green light. And obviously this situation, like, I was out of her league, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't find her attractive, so nothing was gonna happen. But there's situations where there's a girl you think looks good enough, like she looks good enough. She looks good. Maybe she just looks good in general, not even good enough. She's just like, you think she's a 7 or 8, but she doesn't think that. She thinks, okay, I'm like a 6 and this guy's a 9. I'm not talking to him. So now you might even hear that she thinks you're attractive, and then you try to make a move and like it doesn't go well. And it's like, well, it's not going well because she thinks you're way too attractive. So it's like, there's so many reasons why, like, you have to have game as an attractive man. And these are just two examples. Like, one, she might think you're way out of her league, and two, she might not want like more from you. She might just want sex from you. She might just want something casual, you know what I'm saying? And you think you can do more, but you can't. You can't. It's not just a green light. Like, you have to be like attentive to the situation and do less. Just do what, just if you where you're at, where you start, just keep it there. Don't start doing more. You can do a little less, but like, try to keep it where it's at. Keep it where it's at. Don't be like thinking you can just work some type of magic, like it's a magic power you have, like it's a superpower. It's not, right? It's a privilege more than a power. That's how you should think of it. All right, so go out there, pay attention to what's going on, play it cool, keep it patient, wait for your perfect time and opportunity. Not perfect, but wait for your time for it to make sense, so you don't look like you're forcing anything. Don't force it, right? I forced it in the first situation, and that's why I went bad. Second situation, she just thought I was out of her league. She just knew I was out of her league. So nothing happened. So she wouldn't even participate, right? But these, like I said, two examples where you just being attractive, her finding you attractive, does not mean green. It means yellow. So move with caution, all right? Marvel over matter, man. Mind over matter. Let's get it.